In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the Fett Legacy Evolutions pack for the 30th anniversary collection. I also think this was repacked into the Legacy collection as well. I've had this set for a long time now, and to some capacity you've probably seen all three of these featured on the channel at some point, because this was basically the beginning of a long line of re-releases for Jango Fett and Boba Fett at least. Mandalore here is totally unique, and he hasn't seen any other re-releases over the years, so it's a great set overall. I've had this since Christmas of either 2007 or 2008. I forget which one it is. I think it was 2007 though. I actually got this at the same time as the Sith Legacy pack. I knew instantly when I saw this on store shelves that yes, this is a pack I must have for my collection. And at the time it was the definitive Jango Fett and Boba Fett. Of course, Mandalore. At the time, I was really big in the Knights of the Old Republic, and while this particular version of Mandalore technically doesn't show up in the main game, he does show up in the Brotherhood of Shadows mod for the first game, which is an incredible mod. If you haven't played it before, I would highly recommend it, and you'll never look at the game the same way ever again once you do. I've first played it maybe 5 or 6 years ago at this point. I knew of it before that even. And since then I haven't played the game without that mod being attached to it. So this Mandalore you're looking at is actually Mandalore the Ultimate. And interestingly enough, he's actually not human. His species is like Tong or something like that. Some type of humanoid ancient creature. I'm not really sure how to describe it exactly, but pretty interesting. He's actually not human. And this Mandalore the Ultimate is the one who duels Revan above Malachor 5 during the Mandalorian Wars, if you know about that lore. So it's interesting that he ended up getting his own action figure. I think he may have showed up in some of the comics. I haven't read any of those comics though. Like I said, the only source material I'm really familiar with him with is the Brotherhood of Shadows mod, which isn't even an official canon for the game at all. It was just totally fan-made, but it's so good that you really can't help but make it into canon. Like I said, for Jango and Boba here, they saw so many re-releases throughout the years, particularly in the Legacy Collection and the Vintage Collection. I know they both, as is, got a re-release in the Legacy Collection as single releases. And then, of course, at the same time, it was during the Fett Legacy pack. And then they were retooled again into the Vintage Collection, which I've showed off both of those action figures on the channel at some point. And we'll end up bringing them both out here again and then do some comparisons as to how they look side by side. Exactly the same action figure, the only difference is really in the paint. It's a little more upgraded with these two, but I still like these two for what they are. If those are the Jangos and Bobas you have in your collection that you consider to be definitive, I think you're perfectly fine with that. The only thing that's I suppose a downside between like this Jango and that one and Boba and this one is maybe in the face paint, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So unfortunately I don't have the original package to show you. I've not had that for 16 years now at this point, but I will tell you that it was a very nice package at the time, and like I said, I forget specifically which one I got in. I think I got in the original 30th anniversary packaging, and like I said, I'm pretty sure this was repacked in the Legacy Collection. It was around for a couple years, and some people even found this on clearance at the time, because it's one of those packs that, yes, it would sell well, but at the time Hasbro was pretty good about keeping figures in circulation, so I think sometimes people were finding this for like $5 even, which is incredible to today's standards. I guess we'll just go ahead and take a look at the figures themselves then. So we'll look at Jango Fett, which, even though Mandalore is the most unique figure from this pack, I think Jango was, on the promo photos, was the one that was front and center, so I would assume that Jango is kind of like the main attraction of the set. Up till then, most of the Jango Fetts we had were kind of lackluster, I think. Some of the Attack of Clones ones were pretty good, but this was kind of like the first real super articulated Jango Fett that we got. And it turned out pretty nice. I really like this Jango. Even compared to the TVC one, I still think this might be my favorite one for 3 3/4 inch. So he has some really nice weathering on his armor, particularly at the top of his helmet there. Looks really nice. Has that nice metallic finish. Armor looks pretty good. Proportions look really good. At the time I'm recording this video, they just announced or they just showed the promo photos of the new TVC Jango Fett that's coming out soon. And to be honest, I'm not sure what to think of it. Part of me is kind of disappointed by it because they're charging a ridiculous deluxe price for it, and it only comes with a few extra flame accessories, and that's it. And the head sculpt was kind of disappointing too, because it's just a straight repack of the clone head. But we'll see how it looks in person. A lot of times the promo photos don't really do the action figure justice, so we'll see. But it's possible, if my suspicions are correct, that this might stand as the better Jango Fett in the long run. We'll see. I'm sure there will be a lot of debate about it. So he has his holsters here. Same armor, same everything you could expect. So the TVC one came with his original jetpack, the one with the removable missile here. And this one came with his second jetpack that we saw on Geonosis. It's nice that Hasbro did do that, and they did it with the Black Series one as well. The original Black Series Jango came with this jetpack, and then on the Gaming Greats one from Bounty Hunter, they included this one. So I'm really surprised they did that detail. In most cases, Hasbro is not usually that detail-oriented or pays attention to those types of things. But they did for Jango Fett. So for the head sculpt here, I've probably showed this off before. It's pretty good. The sculpt itself is good. The paint could be a little bit better. I think that's my one drawback about this action figure. And compared to the TVC one here, it was definitely a major difference. Yeah. So you can see here, huge upgrade with TVC. But I think the sculpting work is about the same. Yeah, it's pretty good though. And here on the 30th anniversary figure, he looks a lot more paler compared to this one. But still, it's adequate. I don't really have a particular problem with it. It could definitely be better though. And I suppose another difference between the TVC one here and the 30th anniversary figure is, of course, on the gauntlets there. Here he has these spikes that were coming out. Well, this one does not have that. And there's some differences in the paint detailing. I think the purple on this one's a little more paler compared to this one. Just a little bit, though. And the armor looks a little more cleaner, while this one looks a little more metallic. And you can kind of see that in the helmet as well. Articulation, I've gone through this before. It is super articulated. The ball joint, the head, hinge shoulders, elbows. Elbows don't go quite at 90 degrees. That's about the best you can do. Some of that's kind of restricted because of that wiring he has. But he does technically have a swivel forearms there, but again, it's kind of restricted by the wiring. But it's not that big of a deal. You can pretty much get him in all the poses you want him in. It does have that joint at the waist there, and swivel hips, and then hinged knees and hinged ankles. Jango Fett would benefit from hinged hips, but again, like I said, that new deluxe one that's coming out, I don't know what to think of it yet. Weapons and accessories, he comes with pretty much the bare essentials, I guess. Same between this one, the TVC figure for his pistols. I think 30th anniversary one here, the pistols are a little bit darker. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, Slightly different shade. Same sculpt. Of course, the helmet, jetpack, which is removable, and it stays in place pretty good, unlike Boba Fett's here, which we'll get into in a moment. And the pistols do fit in his holsters pretty good. Oftentimes, this one I do have him displayed within the holsters. Looks pretty good. And then the flight gear. So this one's the Fett Legacy pack version, which does fit on his head pretty good. And then this is the TBC one here, which is same exact accessory. The only difference is this TBC figure has the blue paint on the inside. And I suppose it's a little more cleaner all around. A little bit more of a dark gray. But it's pretty easy to get on his head. You would think an accessory like that, you might would have to pop his head off in order to put it on. But it's not the case at all. It just slips on like that. Let's see here. Yeah, overall, Jango Fett, really good action figure. Like I said, might be my personal favorite. And if you decide to get the Fett Legacy pack over the TVC Jango, I think you're in pretty good hands with that one still. Unless you're very particular about the paint on the face there, it's really good. Next we'll take a look at Boba here, which I have showed this Boba off before. And now we'll go ahead and do this one. So you can see already, much more paler on this one compared to that. And then plus his cape there, much longer on this compared to that one. And much more frayed too. It was like that when I got it. And the detailings are much more vibrant on this one compared to that one. You see with the Mandalorian symbol there on his shoulder. But still, this is a really good Boba Fett. Again, at the time, it was probably considered the definitive Boba Fett. Unless you consider the VOTC Boba at the time from Return of the Jedi to be the definitive. But this one's based upon his appearance in Empire Strikes Back. So I guess for that particular film, this was the definitive Boba at the time. So paint detailing's pretty nice, I would say. I actually kind of like the paint detailing on his jetpack much more on this one compared to the TVC figure. Has that more of a metallic, worn out look to it, like it's seen some action. Same with his helmet there. It's still prevalent on this one, but it's much more cleaner. While this one looks like he's really been through some action. The shape on the helmet for both this one and Jango, I would say, is pretty close. It's not 100%. As you can see, it's kind of small towards the top of the dome there. But it's not too bad. Nice detailing all around. This pistol accessory here, I've actually never been able to get that out of the holster. And as you can see, it's a very small hole that it protrudes through there. And it has that lip at the end of the pistol where I can't really get that out. And I've never really wanted to break it. So it's always stayed in the place there. But he does have the accessory. Yeah, he has it on this one too, but I think I was able to get that one out. Yeah. But while this one has the all brown pistol grip there, this one has that blackish metallic look. So there is a difference between the two. And here's his head sculpt, which I would actually say this one's a little bit better than the TVC figure, because that face printing just doesn't work for this. So you can see the difference between the two. Yeah, I think the painted face looks a lot better. And the jetpack here, yeah, that pops off a lot. Big problem with this figure. Articulation's exactly what you would expect. He has that ball joint at the head, hinge shoulders, elbows. The elbows are a little bit better on this one compared to Jango because he doesn't have those restrictions. He does have the swivel gauntlets. He does have the wiring on this one, but it's not really a problem. He does have that hinge at the waist there, and then the swivel hips, hinge knees, and hinge ankles. For accessories, he has that pistol. His signature blaster there from Empire Strikes Back, at least. The removable helmet and the jetpack. Cape can kind of get in the way too of putting that jetpack on. The problem is the peg for it is so small. And even if you push it in like that, a lot of times it has a habit of popping out on you. He does have that Wookiee braid there. Looks pretty good. Yeah. If you work with it, you can get him to hold his blaster with both hands. So that's Boba Fett, and then for the unique action figure in this set, we'll take a look at Mandalore, the Ultimate. So on the package, I do recall it just said the source material was Knights of the Old Republic, which is correct. But it didn't say Mandalore the Ultimate, I don't think. It just said Mandalore, and that was which is very vague because obviously there's so many different Mandalores. So he has some nice sculpting work. He's painted the same all around, except for his shoulder armor here and his mask. He does have a lot of nice detailing in his outfit. Now the shoulder armor here is technically removable. You'd have to pop the head off to do it. And then I think maybe, yeah, maybe pop that out. Yeah. That wiring there just plugs into the armor there. I've never actually done that though. So Mandalore is very traditional with his fighting style, I suppose. He has this axe, then he has a shield, then he came with the staff here. And in the Brotherhood of Shadows mod, he does have dual axes that are similar to this that he used. He never used a shield though, or a staff. Does have this loincloth here. And he has the cape, which is kind of sits off to the side for him. Articulation, he does have that ball joint at the head and his shoulders and elbows. Swivel wrist, I would say, yeah. Swivel waist and swivel hips, and then hinge knees and hinge ankles as well. Weapons and accessories, I guess you can count the shoulder armor there as an accessory since it is removable. It does have this axe here. It has some really nice detailing in that axe. You can tell it's been through some action. Has some chips in it, and it's looking very worn. The shield here, which does strap around his arm, and you can take the shield out. Let's see if I can do this though. Not too often do I take the shield off. Yep. And there's actually a spot in the back of his armor here where you can allegedly plug it in. Yeah, that hole right there you see. I think you're supposed to... Well, it doesn't want to seem to go in. Well, anyway, there is supposed to be a spot there where you can plug in that shield. But it looks like it's not going to work for me, unfortunately. I don't really want to break that peg. So if you work with it a little bit, you can do that. For the staff here, it does fit pretty good in his hand. I guess you can have him fight like that. There is some artwork out there as well where we do see Mandalore the Ultimate riding, I forget what it is. I know it's something similar like a dewback or something like that, and him riding in the battle, which looks really cool. That would have been a great accessory to have with this. So this is the only Mandalore we've ever gotten from Hasbro up to this point. I always thought it would have been an easy retool repack that they could have done for Mandalore the Preserver, which is Canderous Oro from the second Knights of the Republic game. And I think that's one that fans would definitely go for still, even to this day. But yeah, with this guy, highly sought after. Probably the most hunted down action figure from this set, especially now that we have updated versions of Jango and Boba. And so many choices to choose from. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about this set. It's all their accessories, everything they come with. Would I recommend it for your collection? I totally would. Even this Jango Fett and Boba Fett, I would highly recommend. If you don't have one for your collection and you really want to get one, or one of each that is, I still think they're great contenders. This TVC Jango has gotten really expensive in recent years. And Boba Fett, not too bad because he's seen so many repacks. But even if you get this Fett Legacy pack Fett, it's still pretty good. And if you only had one for your collection, I don't think you're going bad with either of these. For Mandalore, obviously he's highly recommended. It's the only one you can get of him to this day. He's actually not that expensive. I've seen some deals on eBay for him with like $20 in free shipping. Him by himself, that is. And even if you get this pack brand new, usually it's like in the $50 or $60 range, which compared to today's standards, and for three very nice and solid action figures, I think that's not too bad. It's definitely not one of the most expensive Evolution sets out there. I wish we still got Evolution sets. There's no reason why we shouldn't. Now that Hasbro's kind of doing like the 2-pack thing in TVC, I don't see why they couldn't do, well, they even do the 3-packs every now and then with like the Obi-Wan figures. So I don't see why they couldn't bring these back. I think there's plenty of options out there they can do. They can do another Jedi Legacy pack, another Sith Legacy pack, and get some of those unreleased characters out there. No reason why they shouldn't. And it would be nice to see Mandalore here in TVC. I'm sure a lot of people would like an updated version of him, but even if they did just a straight repack, he still holds up pretty well to today's standards, and I don't think people will be too outraged by it. So overall, very nice set. One of my favorites that I own. Had it for 16 plus years now at this point, and it's one I cherish greatly. So anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for plenty more reviews in the future. There will always be lots more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I always greatly appreciate all your support. Check out some of the links in the description. As always, thanks for watching.